Many people believe life is punishing them. In truth, it's only testing them right before the breakthrough they've asked for. And this is when most people give up, just 1 minute before everything starts to change. Do you believe in destiny? Carl Jung didn't. He believed that life confronts you when your unconscious mind decides it's time for change. That's when the universe starts to test you, not to punish, but to prepare you. If you don't understand this process, you may give up at the exact moment everything is about to shift. In this video, you'll learn how the universe tests you before it transforms your reality. Watch until the end and make sure to subscribe, because this might be the sign you've been waiting for. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to thank you all. The channel has been growing and it means the world to me. I read all your comments, and knowing that my content has a positive impact on so many people makes me incredibly happy. That's always been my goal, to inspire and help, just like Carl Jung inspired me. I'm truly glad you're here. Now let's get into it. You asked for change. You planned, you hoped, you dreamed of a new chapter, and then nothing. Everything feels stuck. Time seems to freeze. Breathe. Stay calm. This is when the universe starts to test you. Not to see if you deserve what you've asked for, but to make sure you're ready for the reality you've been waiting for. Here's the thing that no one tells you. Before the shift comes, there's silence. Before the new comes, there's a void. And that void isn't punishment, it's preparation. One of my favorite books, The Sibelian, explores this idea through the 7 Hermetic Principles. It's a challenging read, but it reveals a truth about what happens when everything falls apart before everything comes together. One principle, the principle of rhythm, explains it perfectly. Life moves like a pendulum. It swings back before it swings forward. What feels like stagnation, pain, or loss is often just the natural rhythm before growth. Everything flows in and out. All things rise and fall. The measure of the swing to the right is the same as to the left. Rhythm is compensation. What you're going through right now might feel like a setback, but maybe it's just the pendulum preparing to swing the other way. In Carl Jung's philosophy, the encounter with the self happens when the ego breaks down. That moment of change shifts everything because the self isn't the version you show to the world. It's who you are beneath all the defenses, fears, and masks. When the ego starts to crumble, what surfaces is something much stronger, your true essence. This is the turning point. You stop being controlled by external events because you've found a steady center within. This encounter with the self is the beginning of freedom. And this is why life tests you before the breakthrough. It wants to know, do you already have the internal strength to live truthfully? Or do you still need the illusion of control to feel safe? When your life freezes, it's not you that's crumbling, it's the false certainties you've built to stay in control. That's when the universe watches. Will you resist, or will you trust that the test has already begun? The test reveals what's still misaligned within you. It's not to punish you, but to set you free. The old version of you must be exposed, confronted, and let go. When you understand this, something shifts inside you. You stop seeing the silence as abandonment and start seeing it as the space between who you were and who you're becoming. Sometimes what shows up in your life seems like the opposite of what you asked for. You want love, but face distance. You crave freedom, but feel limited. You seek lightness, but only find resistance. This happens because before you can live something new, life needs to show you what inside of you still reacts the old way. You can't live a different reality if you're still triggered by the same things. That's why the universe, with its sharp wisdom, gives you exactly what still sets you off. What provokes you reveals what still needs healing. Rejection shows the fear of abandonment. Boundaries reveal the controlling impulse. Absence shows how much you seek outside what can only be built within. It's like life holds up a mirror showing you how you still react. The universe isn't concerned with whether you deserve it. The real question is, are you ready to evolve? Are you still reacting like someone who clings to control, repeats old patterns, or rushes to fix everything? Or can you now stay calm and true even in the midst of chaos? This is one of the deepest and most invisible tests. It's not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to what happens. When you stop acting like the old version of yourself, the one who panicked, begged for approval, or sabotaged everything, something shifts inside. A silent current that used to keep you stuck in the same cycles suddenly breaks. And even if no one notices, it's liberating. You might not be able to control what shows up on your path, but you can choose who you are when it does. And it's in that choice that your reality begins to change. Not because the world has changed, but because you stopped reacting like someone stuck in the past. That shift, even if there's no visible reward yet, is already a milestone. It's a sign that change is no longer just an idea, but an internal shift. That's when something bigger starts to move. You begin to respond differently, feeling that something inside has shifted. But then suddenly a pain hits, deep and intense, like it's coming from your core. Doubt creeps in. If I'm evolving, why does it hurt so much? The answer is simple but profound. This is also part of the test. The universe isn't punishing you for growing, it's testing if you've truly grown. Is the change you asked for solid within you, or are you still holding on to the old? Pain isn't a mistake, it's a thermometer. It shows up to push out the final remnants of the structures you wouldn't let go of on your own. It's as if life is saying, you want the new? Then you can't keep protecting yourself like you used to. What's crumbling isn't you, it's the version of you that's already outgrown its old ways, but hasn't fully let go yet. The confusion, the fear, the emotional collapse, they aren't signs of failure. They're symptoms of an identity dissolving. That old version of you, the one always on high alert, trying to control, seeking approval, avoiding truth, this is what's dissolving. Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." And right now, acceptance is everything. Even when it hurts, even when it scares you, even when it disorients you, it clears you out. Of course, your ego will resist. It will scream that you're losing control and want to retreat into what's familiar. But understand this: what's happening now isn't punishment, it's preparation. You're being refined, not rejected. You're being emptied, not abandoned. Because the new reality you asked for needs space, and there's no space if old structures, stored up emotions, and automatic patterns are still running the show. This pain, it's the final exam, the last step before the breakthrough. It's asking, will you retreat into what's familiar, or will you keep trusting, even without guarantees? Every time you choose to stay, even in tears, even without understanding, you show the universe you're ready for something greater. Not because you defeated the pain, but because you chose to walk through it. When you start stepping away from your old way of living, that's when the universe cranks up the test. Your old self realizes it's losing ground and it fights back. It will scream. That part of you, the one that survived on fear, guilt, and control, won't go quietly. It will use its favorite phrases. You're not enough. This won't last. Go back to what's safe. And the universe allows this moment, not out of cruelty, but out of wisdom. This is one of the most critical tests because it's the point where many give up, but it's also where the new begins to solidify. Carl Jung compared the ego to a shell. It protected you for a long time, but it isn't you. The real you is behind it, waiting for the ego to quiet down. But the ego doesn't exit gracefully, it makes noise. And it's exactly here, in this noise, that real change begins. When the ego loses its strength, the shadow appears. That part of you you've hidden, rejected, or pretended doesn't exist. And in that moment, the universe asks, are you ready to stop running from yourself? This isn't a theoretical test. It's practical, lived in everyday life. It shows up in situations that tempt you to turn back. It's in the triggers life hands you to see if you still fall into the same cycles. In the conversations that challenge you, in the lonely choices, in the decisions only you can make. And this is where you get the real chance to show you've changed. You recognize the self-sabotaging thought, but you don't feed it. You feel the emotional pain, but you don't run. You sense the urge to retreat, but you breathe and keep going. You become someone who no longer needs the comfort zone to stay whole. That's the sign the universe was waiting for. If this message spoke to you, don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and join our journey towards transformation. Your next breakthrough could be just one click away. You only change your reality when you start living like someone who's ready for the new, even when nothing around you has changed yet. That silent, courageous response within you is the message the universe understands. It's the proof that you're ready to move forward. When you begin to respond differently, even without certainty, the universe notices. That's when it shifts the nature of the test. Now, it no longer asks if you can endure the pain of the past. It wants to know if you can hold the energy of the new. Because it's not enough to just wish for a new reality. You need the emotional structure to live in it. Think of a glass filled with dirty water. No matter how much you want clean water, if the glass is still full, there's no space for anything new. And even more importantly, if you can't keep the glass clean, everything gets polluted again. That's exactly what the universe is watching. It wants to know, can you hold on to your peace even when everything is unstable? Do you treat yourself with respect even when no one else does? Do you stick to your truth even without external approval? These are invisible yet profound questions, and your life will respond according to your answers. Carl Jung said that true change doesn't happen through the conscious mind alone. It must involve the unconscious, the body, and the soul. The universe tests you on all those levels. It doesn't care if you think differently, it wants to know if you live differently. That's why, even after all the internal work, everything may still feel slow on the outside. The test now isn't about endurance, it's about stability. Can you keep your frequency high even when no one's cheering for you? Can you stay true to yourself, even when the world around you still seems unchanged? This isn't punishment, it's construction. The universe is calibrating your vibration and preparing the field. It only releases what you're emotionally ready to sustain. A new reality doesn't come to complete you, it arrives when you've already become someone who can live in it without losing yourself. If it feels hard right now, it doesn't mean it's far away. It means the universe is still preparing the ground, and that ground is you. You keep showing up, even without guarantees, even without clear signs that anything is shifting outside. And here's where one of the most silent and difficult tests appears: the void. You look around and nothing seems different. The new reality you've asked for hasn't shown up. No doors have opened, no confirmation has come. Everything starts to feel unfair, but the universe knows exactly what it's doing. It hides the reward, not to punish you, but to see if you've already found it within. Because if what you're waiting for is still your only source of motivation, you're still trapped in lack. Carl Jung said that the encounter with the self happens when the ego collapses. The ego, used to relying on applause, results, and guarantees, will try to resist this moment of silence. It'll want to quit, to run, or make an excuse. But the universe isn't looking at that, it's asking, can you already be who you say you want to be, even without recognition? This is the test of solidity, integrity, and presence. Can you keep your vibration aligned when no one's watching? Do you act with truth, even when there's no audience? Can you stay faithful to your beliefs, even without immediate feedback? Because that's the foundation of your new reality. The outer world will only shift when your inner world is clean, steady, and whole. Not perfect, but real. That's why at this stage it feels like nothing's happening. But in truth, everything is being rearranged behind the scenes. The universe is giving you a precious gift, not absence, but maturation. And as you wait, you begin to realize that the greatest gift wasn't what you asked for. It's who you became while you waited. You discover consistency without validation, clarity without certainty, peace without answers. And that's no small thing, because it's this quiet, grounded version of you that the universe recognizes as ready. Not the one who demands, begs, or pleads, but the one who already lives as if no proof is needed. When you become that person, reality shifts to match you, but the waiting continues, and with it comes restlessness. You feel like you've already learned, grown, and done the work, but time keeps passing and nothing changes on the outside. That's when the universe brings in one of its most subtle and transformational tests. It wants to see if you'll use this time to panic or to come home to yourself. Because waiting isn't a void, it's a creative field. Many people give up here thinking nothing is happening, but something is. What's happening now isn't visible. It's internal. It's refinement. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And this darkness is the space of waiting. It's where you stop chasing and start walking. At first, you still hope something external will show up, a message, a sign, a clear change. But gradually you realize it's not about when things happen. It's about who you're becoming. While you wait, the universe watches your shift. From anxiety for control to trust in timing, from demanding results to surrendering to the process, from expectation to presence. And this presence is powerful, because in that space you begin to act as someone who already has, even before anything shows up. You treat your energy like it's sacred, you speak with intention, you walk more slowly, you choose with awareness. You're no longer reacting to the absence, you're responding to your own truth. That's spiritual maturity, that's real manifestation. The waiting becomes the place where the new starts to breathe. It's where the reality you asked for begins moving inside you, long before it materializes outside. And that's when the universe understands. Now there's space, consistency, and readiness. You're no longer waiting for something to save you. You're present, knowing deep down that what truly needed to happen was you finding yourself. And now that it has, time stops being an obstacle. It becomes part of your strength. You keep going with less anxiety, with more silence. And as invisible as it may seem, it's already making all the difference. This is when the universe starts to respond, not with fireworks, but with subtleties, synchronicities, unexpected encounters, moments of lightness in the middle of chaos. You might not see big external changes yet, but something inside you already knows. I'm not the same person I was when this all began, and that's one of the clearest signs that the universe is about to make a way. Carl Jung said, "Everything we don't face in the unconscious returns as fate." And now you're changing precisely because you decided to stop running from what hurt. You felt it, moved through it, stayed. You learned to see yourself even on the dark days. You learned to comfort yourself without needing an audience. You kept going even when no one confirmed you were on the right path. And the universe saw that. It saw every quiet choice. Every time you got back up with no strength left. Every moment you said no to what used to trap you. Every tear that fell when you chose to move forward, even without a single sign. These are the responses life respects the most. Because when you start to change in silence, you begin to emit a new frequency. Clearer, steadier, more whole. And that frequency starts shaping what's coming. You may not have received what you asked for yet, but you've stopped begging, chasing, and self-sabotaging every time things didn't go your way. That shift alone is powerful, and it doesn't matter if no one else noticed. The universe did. Its response doesn't come just when you're ready. It comes when you're already living as if you are. The new reality you're waiting for doesn't arrive to transform you. It arrives as a reflection of who you've already become. And now, even without big signs, life begins to conspire differently. Not because it changed on its own, but because you changed first. At this point, something becomes clear. Real transformation doesn't happen when you understand everything with your mind. It happens when your body, your emotions, and your actions begin to move differently, even when your mind is still afraid. Manifestation isn't about thinking positively all the time or repeating affirmations in the mirror, hoping the world will shift. That's just the beginning. The real leap happens when you start living as the person you wish to become. Carl Jung said, "You don't become enlightened by imagining light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that darkness in you, it's already been touched, felt, and faced. You're no longer trying to escape the pain. You're using it as a path. And that completely changes the way you vibrate and what you attract. Because the universe doesn't respond to what you think. It responds to what you sustain. The energy you carry when no one's watching. Your most intimate frequency shaped by how you choose to move through the world. Manifestation is existential. It happens when you start inhabiting the version of you that you asked for, even before it's physically real. You act with integrity before the recognition. You offer the love you want to live. You honor your boundaries even without guarantees. You live as someone who already knows their worth, not someone begging for crumbs. And that doesn't go unnoticed because the universe understands the language of coherence. It recognizes when your behavior, your energy, and your truth are aligned. And when that happens, what once felt far begins to draw near, not as a sudden miracle, but as an inevitable consequence. You manifest what you are, not just what you want. When your vibration becomes compatible with the reality you asked for, it arrives because there's no more barrier between you and it, only connection. The process where many people give up, thinking it's not working. This is exactly where life is responding. It responds best not when you're just asking, but when you're embodying. You look back and realize that nothing you went through was in vain. Not the silence, not the delays, not the sudden endings. You weren't forgotten. You weren't rejected. You weren't left behind. You were being called. And that call didn't come wrapped in sweet words. It came in the form of pain, waiting, and trials that almost broke you. But they were there for a greater reason, to awaken a version of you that could only be born under pressure. Carl Jung said, "A life not lived is a disease from which one can die." And the universe knows that. It doesn't want you to merely survive in a small, safe, predictable space. It wants you to live fully, and to live fully requires maturity. That's why it pulled the ground from under you, so you'd find a strength you could never discover on solid land. It took away the answers, so you'd stop looking outward and start listening inward. It took people away, not as punishment, but so you'd learn not to abandon yourself again. These tests weren't meant to diminish you. They came to align you with who you really are, with what you say you want, with what you're now capable of sustaining. You didn't go through all of this because you were weak. You went through it because you were ready, even if you didn't know it. You kept going, even afraid. Something inside you said, "I'll keep going." And that choice to keep going, imperfect, shaky, tear-filled, was seen by life, by you, by the part of you that had been asleep but finally woke up. The universe doesn't want to give you what your ego desires. It wants to give you what your soul is ready to live. And sometimes that requires delay. It requires silence. It requires letting go of control. You're growing with every quiet choice. With every day you choose not to lose yourself. With every time you look inward and keep going, even with no certainty, that's real evolution. That's what clears the path for everything that comes next. So if it still hurts today, it doesn't mean you failed. It means it's still happening. The process is still unfolding. But now, with one crucial difference, you are no longer the same person who began it. And that changes everything, because life responds differently to the one who has already changed. None of this was in vain. Not the waiting, not the pain, not the moments when it felt like everything was against you. The universe wasn't destroying you, it was preparing you, refining you, aligning you. You walked through fire not to be burned, but to burn away what no longer belonged to who you are now. And now you know. Everything that hurt was really showing you the way back to yourself. Every crisis returned a piece of you that had been forgotten. Every loss cleared away something that no longer served. Every silence was a chance to truly hear yourself. Carl Jung said, "The thing you need most will be found where you least want to look." And you had the courage to look, even when it hurt. Even when it felt like no one else could see what you were facing, you went all the way down. You touched the dark, you felt the void, and you didn't give up. That choice to remain whole while everything around you was falling apart was the clearest sign that you're ready. Not ready in the sense of being perfect, but in the sense of being whole, honest, aligned. The universe saw it. It saw every quiet decision, every tear held back in the midst of surrender. Every "I'll keep going" whispered through fear. You no longer beg for miracles because now you understand. You are the miracle. The new reality doesn't feel like a distant promise anymore. It arrives as the natural consequence of the person you've become. And that person is no longer trying to prove anything. They're living in truth, in presence, in peace. This is the harvest, not just of what you asked for, but of who you became on the inside while you waited. And if you still have any doubt, Look at what you've already overcome. Look at who you were when this all began and who you are now. You walked through fire and you didn't burn. You shined. And that shine isn't loud. It isn't arrogant. It doesn't need a stage. It's a calm glow from someone who knows nothing was in vain. And so now what's coming isn't punishment. It's response. It's reflection. It's the harvest. If you made it this far, drop a comment below. I choose to listen to the signs, not run from them. That phrase is a commitment to yourself, to your truth, to everything that's being born from this moment on. If this message truly resonated with you, you can support the channel by clicking the thanks button below. That financial support is what allows the channel to keep growing with more depth, more quality, and more reach. Every contribution makes a difference and is received with so much gratitude. Thank you for walking this path with me. I'll see you in the next one.